Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Golden Opportunities Coaching YouTube channel and the continuation of our series of discussions on a variety of topics. We try to conduct these audios on a daily basis when we can, and it can be extremely helpful to do so. Sorry, my mic moved on me there. Anyway, in any event, today we're going to talk about when your mental health decides to take a dive or begin to fail you, and some signs that may be going on. This can be helpful for a variety of reasons, not limited to if you start to see these signs, getting some help or an outside opinion can be beneficial. We're going to talk about 6 things that are common when you're starting to go through that failure. First is attention changes to your habits. So the habits we're going to talk about here are threefold. One, self-care. You're not getting up, taking showers. You're not changing your clothes on a daily or every other day basis. And yes, there are people that change their clothes every other day just because they're short on money or whatever. So whatever normal for you is, in terms of self-care, that takes a dive. The next is your eating habits take a dive or increase rapidly. So take a dive. You're not eating as much as you used to, or you're overeating, you're indulging, you're binging, and then maybe even if you struggle with an eating disorder, purging right after a binge. These are all signs that you are overstressed, overloaded, and most likely having stressors that you do not know how to cope with. Your coping skills are no longer working, and so your mental health is failing you because you're overburdened and kind of feeling overwhelmed, which actually is the third thing on the list. If you're overwhelmed with too many stimulus, this can be another sign that your mental health is about to fail. This can manifest in form of rapid thoughts, repetitive thinking, kind of looped thinking, where you find yourself thinking about the same things, the same conversations over and over, trying to find resolutions. You may ruminate on negative previous experiences and not find resolution. There's a whole bunch of ways that overwhelm can come into it. But if you never find resolution, which is the key, then chances are your mental health is beginning to fail. The next is extreme mood swings that you don't know the cause of. So obviously, if we see a puppy or a kitten, we're going to be overly happy all of a sudden. If we see something tragic, we're going to be sad. But if you have emotional mood swings throughout the day, several times a day, or even through over the course of a week, and you can't identify the things that are causing your emotions or moods to change and shift, this is a sign of overwhelm, because your emotions are so fragile that you're not able to kind of take the observer's seat and look at things objectively. You're also not able to understand what's going on inside of you. When you begin to misunderstand or lack understanding of what's going on emotionally, that's a sign that your mental health is beginning to fail. The next is isolation. So, especially for introverts, this is a real tricky one, because an introvert needs a certain level of social isolation and decompression time in order to be able to cope with the world around them and to be able to cope with the challenges associated with being social. However, if you're isolating from either your favorite activities, like your favorite TV shows, your favorite music, and things that you would normally do throughout your day, and they no longer give you pleasure, or you're isolating from people, family and friends that you would normally talk to every day, every few days, and they reach out, or an opportunity is there to do something you would normally find fun, and you just can't bring yourself to do it, and this goes on for several days to several weeks, then you are dealing with a mental health break. The more you isolate, sometimes people have difficulty getting out of bed, sometimes people have difficulty getting up and getting something to eat, but it's just the basic things become overwhelming, so that more social things like hanging out with friends or family become insurmountable odds, and you may feel that you cannot function at the level you normally do. The next is depression. Depression goes along with isolation, because when you're constantly fixated on the things that are going wrong in your life and or the things that you wish were different, but you have no ambition nor strength to change them, or clue as to how you would change them, even if you had the strength, then that is depression in a nutshell. And it doesn't mean you're a failure of a person, and it doesn't mean that you can't recover. There's always recovery from depression, but most often there's also always relapse. So I tell people that deal with depression or anxiety or panic, don't think that you've ever 100% beat it. Believe it or not, your mind in some ways can become, not always, but can become addicted to those depressive or darker thought patterns. And so if you find yourself slipping back in, going back to your coping mechanisms before it becomes too pronounced is a responsibility you have to yourself. The last one is if you have difficulty focusing. So difficulty focusing can be on schoolwork, it can be on conversations, it can be on finishing a simple task like making something to eat. But when your focus is not there, it's because your mind is splitting and going in multiple directions, trying to find solutions and rationalizations for things going on in your daily life that just don't make sense anymore. And that is a sign, especially if it carries on for several days or weeks, that your mental health is beginning to degrade or has already begun to degrade, and you need to seek assistance. Now, seeking help doesn't always have to be from the same source. As a matter of fact, I tell people to have a team, some holistic and spiritual, some mental health professionals, some coaches, and whatever works for you, because the more perspectives you have, the easier it is to fit into a solution and a recovery plan that you're actually going to stick to. So hopefully this is helpful, and I encourage you to keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Until next time, everybody.